Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for testifying, and Mr. Representative Guffey, our hearts go out to you. We have been here many times already. Yes, I agree that we have to do something about Section 230, but one of the things that Professor Leahy mentioned, and before I get to that, by the way, the enforcement is really important, and I just want to note that last week, when I was questioning Mr. Blanche, who is President Trump's nominee for Deputy Attorney General, I noted that protecting children online is an issue that unifies the members of this committee, as you can see. That is why I was disappointed. It is non-answer to one of my questions. I explained that if we want to protect children, the last thing we should do is fire prosecutors who fight child exploitation and impose a hiring freeze that stops them from filling these vacancies, but that's exactly what's happening. So I think we should note the environment in which we are having this hearing. Moreover, there was a funding freeze briefly that cut off funding to Internet crimes against children task forces that fight child exploitation in every state. So child exploitation is a multifaceted issue, and I want to get back to Professor Leahy, who said that the states ought to have the right to go after child exploitation in court, and that they are not able to do so because of Section 230. Does that cover both criminal as well as civil prosecutions by states?
It has been interpreted that way. The states, and the way it's been interpreted is there's language in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act which talks about that no state is not supporting a state law that is in contravention with Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. So courts have interpreted that as, oh, that means you can't enforce your state criminal laws, which happened in the DART case, which was an attempt in the DART cases, and I assume it would happen in civil cases under the C1 provisions of the statute.
Well, so you would support legislation at the federal level that would allow the states to enforce their own child protection laws?
100%, and I believe that my written testimony has a quote from the letters from the National Attorneys Generals laying out, again, for the third time, and again, speaking of unanimity, I believe there's, I don't know exactly how you can have over 50 attorneys generals. I believe it's the territories as well, all in agreement on this point.
And Representative Guffey and Ms. Goldberg, you would agree that we need to do something that would enable the states to support their own laws?
I would certainly agree with that. I think that's one of the tools in the tool belt, but yes, states need to be able to have the tools.
For Ms. Goldberg, you noted very briefly the Ninth Circuit and their decision in a case that you were involved with. Could you provide some background on the case and how Section 230 was involved, and what you think that it demonstrates, this case demonstrates the state of the law around Section 230?
Yes. So that case is called Doe v. Grindr, and it accuses the dating app Grindr of advertising to children using Instagram and TikTok with child models in school settings and luring them onto the dating app. And as I said in my complaint, there's statistics that 50% of gay kids who are sexually active have their first sexual experience with an adult that they meet on Grindr. Now, Grindr has no age verifications and just absolutely turns a blind eye to the fact that there are so many kids that use their product and inevitably are recommended to adults. Now, I claimed that this was a defective product, and Grindr, because they knew about the problem, as I stated in my lawsuit, and we're refusing to institute any sort of age verifications. They were also condoning trafficking, and the case got thrown out by the district court, and that was affirmed yesterday by the Ninth Circuit. So I never got to go to discovery.
It was thrown out because of Section 230 immunity?
Of Section 230, and because of the incredibly high knowledge standard of actual knowledge that they were imposing, which they didn't have to impose, but they imposed in the trafficking claim.
I support the general proposition, thank you, Mr. Chairman, that anyone who gets injured by someone else's actions ought to be able to pursue legal remedies, and therefore, I agree that we need to remove Section 230 immunity somehow, and still pay attention to various other unintended consequences that may flow from that kind of a change, but it's not where we ought to be because this is a growing problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. I believe I'm next. Representative, I'm sorry.